What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days, Season 6, Episode 15. Every time we say goodbye. Let's get started with Statler and Dempsey. So they are towards the end of their little birthday getaway in Scotland. It's actually the day of Dempsey's birthday, and they plan to celebrate that day with some sightseeing. So on the drive into town, the conversation of children comes up, and Dempsey brings up that she does want to have children, and Statler says that she's not really sure about kids. Dempsey's a little bit confused because Statler had said that she was open to children. Now, they don't want to go too deep into this conversation because they still want to enjoy the rest of Dempsey's birthday. So they kind of put that to the side and just enjoy the rest of their day. By the way, Dempsey also tells us that whatever doubts that she's been having about her relationship with Statler have sort of dissipated, and that she's feeling a lot more positive about her relationship with Statler, and she just wants to concentrate on the positives and move on from there. Now, the thought of them living together still kind of scares her, so I guess she kind of still has doubts about that. But as far as everything else that she was worried about, how Statler is moving too fast, how Statler seems to be a little bit too clingy, I guess she's not worried about that anymore, and she just wants to relish in the glow of Statler's love. So the next morning, which is their last morning in Scotland, they're having breakfast together, and the conversation once again goes towards children. So Dempsey explains why she wants to have kids. She says that she has a great relationship with her dad. Her grandparents had a great relationship with her father as well. And so witnessing this and experiencing this has made her want to be a parent as well. And it's important for her to have children. Now, Statler has had a completely different experience. She's an adoptee, and she talks about all of the emotional trauma that she suffered from being an adoptee. I don't know if her mom gave her up willingly or against her will. I don't know. But Statler talks about, feeling unwanted, feeling, having the fear of abandonment. She talks about how she's always felt like there was something missing in her life because she never knew who her biological parents were, etc. So all of that has led to unresolved trauma. And so I guess she's, basically really scared of taking on the responsibility of being a parent after all that she's been through. So Statler asks, Dempsey, would you be willing to adopt? And I kind of felt like this was like a trick question because, most of the time when somebody asks, are you willing to adopt? They want to know, would you be willing to take on loving and raising a child that is not biologically your own? Because that's considered to be very admirable. You're sacrificing a whole lot, etc. So when Statler asked Dempsey, are you willing to adopt? And Dempsey said yes, that she is willing to adopt. Statler was like, well, I'm against adoption. And she talks about her own trauma of being an adoptee, and she doesn't support adoption. She doesn't like adoption at all whatsoever. So then Dempsey says that, well, she would probably do both. She'll adopt and also have her own biological children. Dempsey also says that she is going to have children no matter what. One way or another, she's going to be a parent. Statler says that she does not want children at all. Point blank period, doesn't want them, not interested, and that she also does not have a single maternal bone in her body. So it seems like Statler has made up her mind. The line has been drawn in the sand. What are they going to do about it? So Dempsey, she politely leaves the table to go back to the room and to continue packing, and the production follows her to her room, and they basically ask her, what's exactly going on? What are you feeling? And Dempsey says that, well, this wasn't the same conversation that her and Statler had had before about children. According to Dempsey, Statler had said that she would consider having children. Well, sweetheart, she did consider it. And she decided against it, that she didn't want to have kids. She did consider it. Considering means she thought about it. She weighed the pros and cons, and she landed on the side of, no, I don't want to have children. Dempsey says that, whether or not they have kids will definitely be a deal breaker in their relationship because of the fact that, what are you going to do? She wants children. Statler doesn't want children. Someone's going to have to give up something, or this relationship can't move forward. And Dempsey makes a comment that, things have ended between them before they even begun. But the good thing is we're having the conversation, because a lot of people don't have these conversations before they get married. And then they get married and they end up being on opposite ends of the discussion of whether or not to have children. And this can lead to resentment. It can lead to marriages it can lead to marriages breaking up. So at least we're having a conversation about it now, as difficult as it is. So I don't know what's going to happen, because Statler seems pretty set on not having children because of, the trauma that she suffered with being an adopted child. That doesn't go away that easily. She can't get over that easily. She has to go probably through counseling and do a lot of deep soul searching and discovery of herself. So I don't know what they're going to do. And once a person has that desire in them to have children, that doesn't go away easily either. So this is going to be interesting to see how they work this out. Extremely interesting. I think both of them have very valid points. I don't think neither one of them is wrong. I think they're very valid in feeling how they feel about it. And I think that they expressed themselves pretty well. They both had reasons of why they wanted what they wanted. But I really didn't care for when Statler said, well, it's a lot of hard work and they're expensive. What in life that's worth having is not a lot of hard work. And what in life that's worth having doesn't cost a lot of money. Like if you want a nice house or a nice car, you know what I mean? If you want to go on vacations every year around the world, all of this is going to cost money. So that to me was kind of like a weak argument. But if you feel like, hey, I suffered through some childhood trauma of how I came into this world, so I just don't want to deal with this whole parent-child type of thing, fine. I get it. I understand. It's totally valid. Moving on from there, we have Violet and Riley. So they are spending their last night together before Riley is supposed to leave. Riley apologizes about the whole private investigator thing to Violet. He's sorry that he even considered hiring a private investigator. It seems like, Violet accepted his apology, and she says that even though they've had a lot of problems and they have cultural difference and a language difference, and they struggled a lot in their relationship, she is still willing to stay in the relationship, and she is still willing to try to make it work. And she does say that she needs for him to control his temper. So the next day, Violet comes over to the hotel to help him pack. So this encounter seemed very awkward. They didn't even look like a couple that was together romantically. They just looked like a couple of friends or a couple of associates, who barely knew each other. There was no connection between them. There wasn't any type of warm familiarity between them. It was extremely awkward. So Violet said that she feels sad about him leaving. She does feel sad about it. And Riley wants them to continue to work on their relationship. So basically he's letting her know, I want to be with you and I want to make this work. So Violet says to him, okay, yeah, we'll keep in touch. I don't know if it's because of her English not being so good or if she really is this distant with him, but that was a very distant thing to say. Yeah, we'll keep in touch, after he tells her how much he wants to work on their relationship. Riley wants to have a serious conversation about the future of their relationship. So he sits her down on the bed. He looks her deep in the eyeballs and he tells her, I care for you very, very, very deeply. And he doesn't say the L word, because I remember the beginning of the season, he said that him and Violet don't ever say the L word. I think they say F you instead, because I don't know why they just don't say the L word. It's just their own little thing, their own little hidden joke or whatever. They just don't say the L word. But now he thinks it's time for them to say that this relationship has moved on to a point where they should be able to say that to one another. So he tells her, I care for you. He's dropping all of these hints. I care for you very deeply, very, 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 very deeply, very deeply. Do you know what I'm hinting at? I don't know why the man just didn't come out and say it. And so she's clueless, or acting clueless, and she's like, what are you trying to say? I don't understand. And so he says, well, we don't really say the L word. So when she heard that, then she was like, oh, okay. Don't say it. And I was like, don't say it. She didn't even want him to say it. So she says that they need more time. And she also talks about how he needs to make changes. This is in her confessional, not to him directly. In her confessional, she says that Riley needs to make changes, that he needs to learn how to respect a woman and how to treat a woman. And I felt no love from Violet. it seems like, Riley was on, the cusp of saying, I love you. I want to be with you. I want, will you marry me? But she completely put a halt to all of that. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going on here? But you know what, y'all? I'm not really that surprised because I never felt like Violet was truly into Riley. Riley was obviously into Violet, or he was into the idea of being with Violet, but I never got the feeling that Violet was that as much into him as he was into her. So it's time for them to say goodbye. They're outside. The Uber's there, the taxi's there. He's loading up the car with his luggage, and now it's time for them to say goodbye. And we're expecting this, typical goodbye between people who are supposedly, allegedly in love with one another, where they're hugging and kissing and crying and all this stuff. And it got even more awkward between them. So she doesn't hug him. She doesn't kiss him. She kept her arms crossed across her chest the whole entire time. She barely made eye contact with him. And he's kind of like shuffling his feet, waiting for her, like to melt a little bit, but she was just like this stone cold, icy, like ice queen. Like she just wasn't going to give him any type of warmth, any kind of affection, nothing. So at the last minute, he kind of like puts his arms around her, and she very awkwardly hugs him back. But it was kind of like it was unexpected, and she didn't know what to do with her arms, and so she just kind of like barely wrapped them around him. And Riley was hurt. He was obviously very hurt. Riley leaves Vietnam, he says, feeling very somber, feeling very sad. It did not work out the way he thought it was going to work out. And he actually predicted that he may never see her again. Riley says that he didn't really get to know her, didn't get a chance to really understand her. And I'm like thoroughly confused. I'm extremely confused. But like I said, I just never really felt like Violet was into him the way he wanted her to be. And I think with them not saying I love you to one another, not being affectionate with one another, it's because there's just nothing there between them. If two people really, really love each other, want to be with one another, saying I love you should not be difficult. They shouldn't be using profanity as a way to express love because they feel too uncomfortable to say I love you. That doesn't make any sense. They don't say I love you not because they think it's cute to say F you. They don't say I love you because they don't love each other. They don't love each other. There's no real emotion. They're not really emotionally connected or bonded in any kind of way. There's just nothing there. I don't know what they're doing with one another. Now, as far as Violet, I'm pretty sure she's with him either because she wants him to give her money, or she plans on coming to America and wants to use him for that. I don't know, but Violet definitely is using him for something. But Riley, if you really truly love this woman, you shouldn't be afraid to tell her that you love her and all of that, and stop with all of this. I care for you very, very, very deeply. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Just go ahead and be a man and just say it. If she doesn't love you back, well, at least you'll know now instead of knowing after you spend all the money, time, and energy to get her to America and marry her, and finding out after the fact. You might as well find out now and take care of it now. So yeah. Riley, the joke's on you. Moving on to Cleo and Christian. So Cleo thinks that Christian gets bored easily, that he's the kind of person where he needs to be constantly stimulated. And so when there is no stimulation, there's nothing for him to do. That's when, his eyes start wandering and he starts, approaching random women for attention. So she thinks that if he were to, stop that, maybe then she'll feel better about the relationship. So Cleo has a conversation with him about him approaching other women and whether or not they're going to be exclusive. Christian says that he has no issues about being exclusive. So this is what he does. He will throw out these little tidbits, these little nuggets, making her think, oh, he's interested in me. He's into me. He wants to be with me because he said he doesn't have a problem with being exclusive. But then he takes all of that back when he refuses to change his ways and defends his actions when it comes to talking to other women, even though he knows that it hurts Cleo. So Cleo tells him, I don't have a problem with you hanging out with your friends, male, female, whatever. My issue is you talking to random strange women. And he was like, well, I don't know why that's a problem with you, because I'm not doing anything wrong. And so he stands 10 toes down talking about, I'm not going to change. I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to be held down. I am who I am. And what Christian does is that he strikes up conversations with random women in bars. That's what I do. And I'm not going to stop doing that. And there's nothing that is inappropriate about it. I'm not cheating on you. I'm a very extroverted person. I like being around people. Half the world's population is female, so I'm bound to come across some when I'm out there. When I'm out and about, I'm bound to run into these women because, there's so many out there. So what's wrong with me talking to them? So Cleo starts crying because he's not going to change his ways. And it makes her feel extremely uncomfortable and insecure that he refuses to stop doing this. You would think that if he truly cared about her, just not even on the fact that it's creepy and it's wrong for him to talk to other females, not for that, but just for the fact, if he feels like, okay, what I'm doing is not wrong, it's okay for me to talk to strange women because I'm not doing anything wrong, fine, you can feel that way. But if doing that specific act is hurting your partner, that right there should be the reason why you should stop. Whether you feel like what you're doing is wrong or not, the fact that you're hurting her, that should be enough. But he doesn't see it that way because he's an F-boy. So Christian says, when I'm with you, I'm with you. And I'm thinking, so when you're not with her, you're with someone else? Like, what the hell does that mean? And Cleo says that, she does have a tendency to ignore red flags because she's so afraid of losing her partner. The things that would make other women run away, she just is going to ignore it because she doesn't want to lose her partner. And I think that's really, really sad because Cleo, girl, you're the sweetest, kindest, most caring person on this show. You're just you're so full of love and life. You don't deserve a jerk like Christian. You just don't deserve someone who is causing you this much pain. I don't understand why people think that love, especially in its early stages, has to be so painful and has to hurt so much. And they feel like, well, if I put up with the pain, this just proves how much I'm willing to be with this person because I'm willing to put up with all the pain and the heartache. It doesn't have to be that way. Of course, relationships are not always going to be wonderful and happy and everyone's going to feel good all the time. There will be problems, but at least when there's problems, both of you will acknowledge, okay, yes, we have a problem. Let's try to fix it because I don't want to hurt you and you don't want to hurt me, and so let's come to a resolution instead of I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do even if it hurts you. What? Cleo, girl, you don't deserve it. Please reconsider your decision in being with this person because, like I said, I truly do believe that Christian does not really want to be in a full-time, exclusive, romantic relationship with Cleo. And so he does things on purpose to piss her off, to make her feel insecure, so that hopefully she'll be the one breaking up with him because he doesn't want to break up with her because he's spun this narrative. I want to be with you. I want to be exclusive with you. I'm happy with you. So how is it going to look if you all of a sudden turns around and says, I want to break up with you? It won't make any sense. So in order to keep up this facade of wanting to be with her and wanting to make it work with her, he's not going to break up with her, but he's going to put those little nuggets out there, drop those little tiny bombs to make her feel bad so that she would want to break up with him. And that's the reason why he said he's not going to stop talking to other women, even though it hurts her. It hurts her feelings. And I don't understand, what do you get out of it, Christian? What are you getting out of it that is so important? Moving on to the only couple this season that I truly cared about and was truly rooting for. And the only couple that I think was the only couple that was genuine this season, the most genuine couple of season 15, or whatever season this is, David and Sheila. So the romantic getaway has come to an end because they had gone to this little resort that has come to an end, and they're on their way back to Seba. So, or no, not Seba, Cebu. They're going back to Cebu. So later on, they meet with Sheila's son and her dad, and Sheila announces that they are engaged. They show them the ring. They're officially engaged, and they ask her son, how does he feel about it? And Jean Riel said that he felt really happy because he can see that David really loves his mother. So then her father asked, well, since y'all are now engaged, and I'm assuming y'all are going to be moving to America, what are we going to do about Jean Riel? So Sheila asks her son, what do you think about moving to America? And he's like, I'm down. I'm happy. He's for it. And I was so happy that he was going to give going to America a chance, because I know that once he gets here, he's going to love it. He's going to wonder why he had hesitated to begin with. So he says he's really happy about moving to America. And I loved it when David got up and walked around the table and gave his future father-in-law a hug and gave Jean Riel a hug. And Jean Riel hugged him back, and it was like a real genuine hug. You know, it wasn't like an awkward kid hug. It was like, okay, I don't really feel comfortable, but I'm going to put my arms around this adult anyway. He really genuinely, you know, wanted to hug David. And I thought it was just so beautiful. I love this couple. So now it's time for David to leave the Philippines. Sheila's really worried about when she'll see him again, because that's still up in the air. So David says that he plans to return the following year. So he's going to start the K1 process. He said, and I loved this, he said that he understands it's going to be a very long, a very difficult process, a very expensive process, but he is going to do it. And he said that he's going to hire an attorney, an immigration lawyer. Do you hear that, Gino? So David says he wants to hire an attorney because it's going to make it a lot easier and maybe move it along a little bit quicker. So he's willing to hire an attorney. And when they're at their airport and they're saying their goodbyes, you know, it was so difficult to watch, y'all. I'm like so invested in David and Sheila, and I was all up in my feelings when I was watching them say goodbye. And then when David started crying, y'all, my eyes started like welling up with tears. I'm like, what is going on with me? I am so rooting for David and Sheila, because this is the only real genuine couple that we got to. This is David and Sheila is what 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days is really, truly all about. This is what it's about. This is what I enjoy seeing. Not the crazy, fake BS of Riley and Violet, not the stupid fake drama of Gino and Jasmine. That's not what I'm interested in. This right here is what I watched 90 Day Fiancé for. So good for David and Sheila. I hope that everything works out with them. I hope that, they're going to start the K1 process and get started with moving Sheila and Jean Riel to the United States. Moving on from there, we have Jasmine and Amanda. Jasmine and Amanda. So it's the last day in Croatia. They're going to meet up with Jasmine's family. And while they're waiting for the family to show up, you know, they're tonguing each other down. There's a lot of PDA on the beach. And Jasmine tells us that the night before, you know, they went around the world 4 times. And it was wonderful. It was fantastic, because she's trying to put the moves on him so that she can bring him back, because he's slowly kind of like pulling away, or so they want us to think. He's slowly kind of pulling away from her, because, you know, their relationship really hasn't been the best since she's arrived in Europe. They've had a lot of bumps in the road, and so she's worried about losing him. I'm very confused about Amanda, because she was so distant from him. She wasn't even really sure she wanted to be with him, and, you know, talking about how she didn't feel like he was going to be able to provide, which to me, I think that's a legit issue. That's a legit concern to worry about. You know, am I going to be taking care of you until, you know, you get that big time Hollywood role, or are you going to be contributing to the household at some point? Very valid. But all of a sudden she's not worried about that anymore. I mean, that's like, maybe because he said, I'm not going to be using your money. I'm going to go take care of myself in a minute. Maybe when he said that, she was like, okay, he's not going to be my burden. So I don't know. But now she really wants to make things work, but he's still kind of pulling back. So that's why she's been so very sexual with him, very lovey-dovey with him. So Jasmine tells her that he's not 100% back into the relationship, but he does appreciate the effort that she's been putting in trying to get him back. So the family finally arrives. Jasmine steps away to go change into his bathing suit, and the family asks her, how do you feel about Jasmine? She says, oh, I love him. The way she said it was just sort of like fake. I don't know why. She sounded fake when she said it. So Jasmine then has a chance to talk to his mom alone. So they take a walk on the beach, and he tells his mom the issues that he's been having with Amanda. He tells his mom that Amanda has these really major mood swings. You know, one minute they're lovey-dovey, they're happy, and then something will trigger her, and, you know, it's off to the races. She's upset with him. She's angry with him. And the entire night or day is completely ruined. And he can never predict when these mood swings are going to happen. It's just like from one minute to the next, she becomes a completely different person. So he tells his mom, she keeps telling me that because she's still grieving about her husband, this is the reason why her moods are so unstable. Well, the mom is not happy about this, and she thinks that Amanda is very fickle. And so she wants Razvan to know that, she's like this now and she may never change. This is probably, what you see is what you get. So Amanda, they finally leave Croatia. They go back to Romania. She survived her first family meeting, but she did notice that there was a change in the atmosphere after Razvan came back from the talk with his mother. So they're in a pool hall playing pool, and Amanda wanted to know, what did y'all talk about, you and your mom? And Razvan said that he told his mom about how they're always fighting. And Amanda says, well, what did she tell you? And Razvan was like, oh, I don't know. Boom, she switched. And she was like, yes, you do. You do know. And so she tells him that, it's very problematic when you involve other people in your relationship and they get super duper involved in our problems. Oh, you mean like when you ran to your sister when Razvan told you that he wanted to have children, and you immediately called your sister and was crying and complaining to your sister about how dare he want children after supposedly you and him had discussed no more kids? Okay. Yeah, it's horrible to involve your family in your problems. So Amanda was getting upset, and Razvan says, well, this is what I'm talking about. How you switch. This is what I was telling my mom about, how you change so quickly. You go from normal to upset, and I don't know what to do with you. So they're back from Croatia. They're back at his apartment, Airbnb, whatever it is. So Amanda asks, so what's going to be happening with our future? Because she's about to go back to America soon, and she wants to go back with some type of a plan. And so she says, are we going to be engaged? And he was kind of like, engaged? And he tells her, look, we've been through some issues. We fight a lot. I don't know if that's like the best idea right now. And so she blames it all on, her emotions and not getting along with him and pulling back from him. She says that, well, because I'm still grieving because of Jason, I'm still dealing with all of that. And he's like, I understand that, but how much longer do I have to put up with that? It's not fair for me, for you to start, you're confused, you don't know what you want to do with our, it's not fair for me. So I'm sorry if you're still grieving over your husband who's been deceased, I don't know how long, a year or something. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Amanda. So he tells her, my feelings for you, they've kind of changed, a few weeks back. I see you differently. I'm feeling a little bit differently about you. So I don't know about this whole engagement thing. I have a feeling that they're going to be engaged because I think Razvan wants to come to America. So I have a very strong feeling that they're going to end up getting engaged anyway. I think that this is just TLC throwing us a red herring. I think they're going to get engaged because I don't see Razvan giving up on his dreams of coming to America and becoming some big time A-list Hollywood actor. Moving on to Jasmine and Gino. So Gino goes back to his hotel. He starts packing up because he's, about to leave, and he thinks his relationship with Jasmine is over. Why would you think that, Gino? Don't you understand the pattern and the cycles of your relationship with Jasmine? I get it, and I'm not even involved in your relationship. And I understand that everything with y'all is cyclical. Everything comes right back around, so it's never really over. So Jasmine comes to the hotel to talk to him, and she puts on this whole dramatic show saying that she's so broken and that she's had a lot of anger and it's so bad that she blacks out sometimes, and she's had a lot of trauma in her life. Just puts on this big theatrical production. She begs Gino, please don't stop loving me. And then Gino starts to cry. And so Jasmine says that she understands that she has to earn her spot in being top priority in his life. Right now she's tied with the family. So she's like, well, now I understand, Gino, that I have to earn my spot to be your number one. And I can only be your number one once I'm your wife. So then she gets up, she gets the little rinky dinky ring that he had bought her. and because she refused to wear it because it's not up, it's not up to par with her. This is not what she would have chosen for herself, so she doesn't wear it. But now she's got to pull out all the guns and do what she can to secure her man or her chance to live in America, however way you want to look at it. So she goes and she gets a little rinky dinky ring, and she gets down on her knees, and she's like, Gino, I didn't want to wear this ring before, because I didn't think that, it was worth anything, because it looked like you got it out of a bubblegum machine. And I think she was actually like adjusting. I think it's like an expandable ring that you can adjust the size. Those rings that you can like open and child. So she's fiddling around with it, and she's like, Gino, but I know that this ring, it costs more than all the money in the world because you're the one that gave it to me. It's a ring that you chose for me, so it's worth more than all the money in the world, and now I'll wear it forever. Will you accept us being re-engaged again, to be engaged again and being engaged? And he's like, oh, of course, Jasmine, of course. So he puts the damn ring on her, after he adjusted the size. He puts the damn ring back on her finger, so now they're back engaged again, and it's just whatever. So Jasmine says that she's going to change. Well, that's exactly what she said when they're in the counselor's office. And then they have that big blow up fight. So then they're at the airport. Gino's leaving, saying their goodbyes. Jasmine's upset with the whole immigration process because it's keeping people who really love each other, it's keeping them apart, and she's really upset with the process of immigration. And when he goes to check his bags or whatever he goes to do, he actually takes off his hat, because he had to, I guess, take off his hat. And we saw his bald head. Gino, why don't you consider getting a hair transplant or a permanent toupee or whatever it is that they're doing now, or whatever? Like, I don't understand why you're like a prisoner to these hats and stuff. Anyways, whatever. So that was the end of Jasmine and Gino. Good for them. Whatever. I don't want to see Jasmine and Gino ever in life again unless their relationship has progressed in some way. So once she comes to America, that's when I can, continue wanting to see them. But right now, I'm not interested in Jasmine and Gino and their fake dramatics. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. And and if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you again. Bye.